Have you ever wondered if the human species was designed with a fatal bug? Think about it. A baby zebra can stand and run within minutes of birth to evade a lion. A baby sea turtle hatches and immediately charges for the ocean. But human infants? Aside from crying and draining your sleep, they are virtually helpless. They can't walk, they can't forage, they can't even hold their own heads up. But what's even weirder is you, the parent. You live in an apartment with security cameras, you have temperature-controlled bottles and the most advanced diapers, yet you feel an unprecedented sense of desperation and loneliness. You feel like you're losing your mind. Don't blame yourself. Your current pain is actually because you are trying to use the power of one to fight against a collective survival script that humans evolved over 300,000 years. Today, we're going to talk about something modern civilization has lost: the human parenting village. First, we have to accept a heartbreaking truth. All humans are, in fact, born premature. To walk upright, the human pelvis became narrower. But to become more intelligent, our brain capacity skyrocketed. This created an evolutionary paradox. If a fetus stayed in the womb until it was fully developed, that massive head would simply never fit through the birth canal. So, evolution reached a compromise: birth the baby early. This is why the first 3 months of an infant's life are biologically known as the fourth trimester. They essentially still belong inside the womb. This means human parenting was never meant to be easy mode. It has been extreme survival from the very beginning. But in the ancient world, hundreds of thousands of years ago, this extreme survival wasn't a burden for just 2 parents to carry. In the past, raising a child wasn't a lonely solo performance. It was a collective symphony. Anthropologists discovered that ancient tribes practiced a model called alloparenting. Back then, when a baby opened its eyes, they didn't see a sterile white ceiling. They saw a dozen faces filled with care. When a mother needed to fetch water from the river or gather roots, she didn't need an expensive daycare. She just placed the baby by the campfire. There, she'd find experienced grandmothers, teenage girls eager for practice, and even strong men back from the hunt who were happy to play with the child. Research shows that in a primitive tribe, a baby was held and attended to by non-biological parents for more than 50% of its waking hours. This wasn't just about sharing the physical labor, it was about diluting the stress. In that environment, the term stay-at-home mom didn't exist, because everyone was a part-time parent. Speaking of which, we have to mention a biological miracle: menopause. In nature, almost all animals can reproduce until the day they die. But human women are unique. They stop reproducing midway through their lives. Why? This is the famous grandmother hypothesis. Evolution discovered that if a woman stops reproducing in her later years and instead devotes her energy to helping her daughter raise the next generation, the survival rate of her grandchildren doubles. Grandmothers were human history's first parenting experts, the tribe's knowledge base. Their presence gave fragile human infants a cross-species survival advantage. But in modern society, we've isolated grandmothers in hometowns hundreds of miles away, or limited them to a tiny window on a video call. We have essentially cut the very safety fuse that human evolution was most proud of. Many modern parents reach a breaking point. Why did I buy a $700 cradle, yet the second I put him in, he screams like he's on fire? Because his brain is still in the Stone Age. In 300,000 years of life in the wild, skin contact equaled life. An infant left on the ground without human contact meant, in the logic of the ancient wilderness, that they were abandoned. It meant they could be snatched by a predator at any second. Your child isn't being unreasonable. He's executing a survival algorithm that's been running for 300,000 years. He screams to force you to pick him up, because only within your warmth and heartbeat does his instinct tell him, you are safe. We invented apartments, fences, and monitors, but in that tiny head, those things are no different from a black hole in the wilderness. About 150 years ago, with the Industrial Revolution, humanity experienced a social earthquake. We moved into cities and formed what we call nuclear families. We chased privacy, independence, and our own space. But we forgot that privacy is the enemy of parenting. The moment we closed that security door, we completely severed ourselves from the mutual aid network that lasted 300,000 years. Modern parents are trying to use the flesh and blood of just two people to complete a task that originally required an entire tribe. This isn't just physical exhaustion, it's a psychological disaster. Postpartum depression, parenting anxiety, marital breakdown. These modern diseases are essentially byproducts of social deprivation. So, next time you feel exhausted and want to scream at the ceiling, please remember, you aren't a bad parent. You are just a lonely, primitive human trapped in a cold, modern civilization. We can't turn back time to the days of sitting around a campfire, but we can try to unbind ourselves. Stop chasing the illusion of perfect and independent parenting. Go find your tribe, whether it's neighbors, friends, or a parenting community. Admit that you need help. Hand the child to someone you trust and take a moment to breathe. Because your genes contain this fundamental truth. Raising a child was never meant to be about sacrificing your entire life. It was meant to allow a new life to see the whole world while being guarded by the hands of many.